We're going to get to our speaker. Nathan was a fellow rabble-rouser of mine in LPR this year. We definitely pissed off quite a few people, so that's like that. He's going to be talking about something I think is pretty important for us, and it's not something we talk about very often, which is culture. You know, we all like talking about philosophy and economics and all this other stuff that causes the other 95% of the people in this country to glaze over and get all bored. So tonight he's going to be talking a little bit about culture and what he does with his radio program, which many of you, I'm sure, noticed we were recording, called The New Renaissance. So with that, Nathan Shafer.
All right, so I'm going to try to fill this room with my voice. Let me know if this doesn't work, because this microphone is a pain in the neck. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is fabulous. This is wonderful. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Nathan Shafer, and I am the host of The New Renaissance. The New Renaissance is a radio show / podcast on libertycast.net. And LibertyCast is the project of our friend Keith Peterson. And round of applause for Keith. It is a liberty-oriented internet radio station. Now, at present, we're just podcasts. We're waiting for our permanent location to settle, and once that happens, we'll be doing regular broadcasts. But for now, we're doing podcasts. And we have some of the LibertyCast hosts in the room. Mike on the camera. Hi, Mike. And Brian have a show called Brushfire Radio. And Stacy Petty here and her partner Molly Vogt have a show, A Liberty Affair. And David K. Williams, for those of you who know David, has a show, The Williams Report. And I have The New Renaissance. Now, unlike most of the conservative political talk radio that you are used to, I'm not talking about politics. Because there's a lot of people talking about politics. It's pretty much done, and some of them are much smarter than I am. But there's an area that we're not talking about very much, and that is culture. Popular culture, movies, TV, pop music. And high culture, classical music, jazz, art, painting, sculpture. I talk about all of it. And I talk about how all of this relates to the ideas that we in this room are so passionate about. Liberty, the importance of the individual. That's what the New Renaissance is about. And this evening, I have called you all here, thank you for coming, because there's a problem that we are facing, and I think it's a problem that needs to be dealt with. And that problem is that we on the right are doing a very effective job of walling ourselves off from the rest of the culture, putting ourselves in this nice bubble. And by so doing, we're losing the culture. Unfortunately, there are things we can do about this, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And those things that we can do, that is the focus of the New Renaissance. And so that's what I'm going to talk about this evening. So what is the problem? Well, the problem is we keep losing. 2006, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, anybody? 2008, Barack Obama, oh dear God, which gave us Obamacare, gave us Benghazi, gave us Egypt. 2012, oh my God, they gave us Obama again. And they gave us a Democrat-held state legislature, which gave us all those wonderful gun laws and tons of bills that we're really happy about, right? This is the core of the problem, but what is the reason for the problem? Well, everybody has their own theory, right? Well, I have mine. You know what? We're going to have to do this. That'll help with the camera. So I have my own theory as to what this problem is, and I think this problem boils down to a basic political truth that I know our friends in the Republican Party have forgotten. And many of us on the right who don't affiliate so much with the Republican Party, many of us have also forgotten. And that basic political truth is this. People don't like to vote for one of them. People like to vote for one of us. People like to vote for somebody that they associate with, somebody that they relate to. And we on the right have become them. To the majority of American voters, we are them. We are no longer us. Now, consider the 2012 presidential election. Obama, Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney got painted as one of them. President Obama ran a campaign, an ad. Mitt Romney is not one of us. And it worked. And why wouldn't it? Look at Mitt Romney. He's a rich guy. He's rich. He is rich, rich, rich. He's so rich that if I won the Powerball twice, I still wouldn't be as rich as Mitt Romney. Now, not that there's anything wrong with being rich. I'd love to be that rich. And I promise you all, if I ever win the Powerball twice or 3 times and I get that rich, I will not become one of those guys. Do you see what I just did there? One of those guys. One of them. Mitt Romney was one of them. He's also, and please forgive me, I know this is going to tread on some toes, sorry Sean, Mitt Romney's a Mormon. And to a lot of Americans, Mormons are them. Mike Huckabee has made a fabulous career for himself, making out Mormons to be them. Mitt Romney had the cards stacked against him, folks. He was never going to win because he was so, and he did a lousy job of countering this and painting himself as one of us. And the Democrats were happy, more than happy, to paint Mitt Romney as them. Okay, what about Obama? Obama is one of us. In 2008, during that campaign, New York Magazine ran an article, because Obama is one of us. Think about the power of that language. Now, conservatives have made great hay in trying to paint Obama as one of them. That's what the whole birth certificate was about. Obama is he's not one of us. He's from Kenya. Well, that didn't work. We tried associating him with Bill Ayers. That didn't work. The Choom Gang. People remember the Choom Gang? Obama liked to get in his van and stoke up, liked to smoke pot. He's a druggie. He's a pothead. He's one of them. Except a federal survey found that 41% of Americans admitted to trying pot at least once. Now, that's the government asking you, did you ever try pot? How many people are going to say yes to the government? Which means it's a good bet. There were upwards of 50%, really very far upwards of 50% of people who actually have tried pot, and especially in the younger generations. Barack Obama's a pothead. Awesome! He's one of us. Let's kick back and smoke a bowl. Obama is relatable. Now, Bill Whittle loves talking about those surveys that came out in the aftermath of the 2012 election, asking voters why, how they related to each one of the candidates on various levels. Who do we trust more on the economy? Romney. He won that one handily. Who do we trust more on jobs? Romney. Who do we trust more on foreign affairs? Romney. Who's more presidential? Romney. Who do you relate more? Obama. By a big number. Obama's one of us. And conservatives, the majority does not see conservatives as one of us. They see conservatives as them. We are losing the culture war. This much is obvious, I think, to everybody in this room. And because we're losing the culture war, we are losing the culture. So let me persuade you of this with a little exercise here. I want to see a show of hands. And please put your hand in the air and keep it in the air. This is it. We're counting an aggregate now. Please place your hand in the air if you have ever heard anyone say any of the following. Hollywood is a cesspool. Anybody? There's a bunch right there. Everything that comes out of Hollywood is crap. Keep them in the air. Television is a vast wasteland. Everything on TV is junk. Popular music nowadays is all bitches and hoes. Nobody's making good music anymore. And finally, popular music is crap. Okay. Look around. Keep your hands in the air. Look around. That's every hand in the room. Now, keep your hands in the air. One more second, please. But I want you to put your hand down if you don't agree with anything that I just said. If you don't agree with any of those statements, put your hand down, but otherwise leave them up. Look around. Look around. That's most of the hands. If you went down, that's most of them. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down. So basically, we in this room, and this is a good slice of what the sentiment is like on the right. We think that popular culture, movies, TV, music, is crap. Now, let me put that in some context for you. And I'm going to do this with some statistics. Don't panic. We're all people of the right here. We can handle statistics and charts. But actually, first, one more show of hands if you don't mind. How many people in this room went to see a movie in the theaters last year? Any time in the last year? Well, look at that, just about every hand. So we are participating. Okay, I said almost everybody. We are participating in this culture that we think is crap. Maybe we don't think it's so much crap, but we have this attitude. And this attitude is known. Don't think it isn't. Well, let me come back to this. We are in good company. Last year, 2012, 72% of Americans went to see a movie in the theater. Now, that's not including rentals, DVDs, etc. That's actually went to the theater, paid the overpriced ticket, paid for overpriced movie food. Fun fact. Did you know that pound for pound, movie popcorn is now more expensive than filet mignon? Isn't that a fun fact? Woohoo! Hooray for Susan Kochevar. 88 Drive-In. Thank you, Susan, for coming. Yes, 72% of Americans. Now let's look at that number from another angle. Last year, Hollywood took in $10.8 billion at the box office. That's domestic box office, by the way. That doesn't account for foreign markets.
They're so greedy.
But, but that is less than, that is a little more than half what they took in DVD sales and rentals, 18 billion. Music industry took in another $7.1 billion. And my favorite statistic of all of these, television advertisers paid $72 billion for ads on TV. Now, that does not include, by the way, ads on radio, magazines, the internet. That's just TV. Taken all together, that is, there we go, over $100 billion spent on TV, music, movies in 1 year. You know, the stuff that we all think is crap. And you divide that by 114 million households, that comes out to a little less than $950 per household. Almost $1,000. Now that's an average, which means that some households spent less than $1,000, some most assuredly spent more, perhaps a lot more. It's called popular culture for a reason. People love it. People love their movies, they love their TV, they love their music. And in the meantime, we're telling everyone that this is crap. And don't think that they don't know it. So what message then are we sending out to the average American voter? You're a moron. You are an idiot. You have no taste. Everything you like is crap. Your movies you like, crap. Your music you like, crap. Oh, by the way, we have this election coming up, and we'd really like you to vote for our guy. He knows what's best. Does that sound like a persuasive message to anybody here? Let's look at this from another perspective. I'm going to steal from the best here. Do people know Tom Krannawitter? Thomas Krannawitter? I've heard him give this particular talk a few times, and it's brilliant. Let's imagine that the American electorate spreads out across a bell curve, a standard distribution chart. And so on the left, we've got the hard left, the really hardcore progressives, the greenies, the socialists, the people who would never in a million years vote for anybody who falls on the political right. Over here, we've got the political right, the really hardcore liberal folks, the anarcho-capitalists, the libertarians, the Ron Paul folks, who would never in a million years consider voting for somebody over here on the left. And then you've got the people in the middle, where most of the people are. Now, that's who we want to be talking to, right? 2012, the election came down to about 60, I think it was 65 million for Obama, about 60 million for Romney. It's 5 million people, less than, actually. If 2.5 million people went for Romney instead of Obama, who actually went for Obama, we'd be talking about President Romney right now. Now, I'm not going to get into whether that would be better. That's a separate question. But I'm talking about numbers here. 2.5 million people. Now, which would be smarter? Go for these 2.5 million down here, or go for these 2.5 million here who maybe would be willing to listen to a liberty message? We should be talking to these people here. But we on the right never do. We talk to these people here. We talk to ourselves. And in fact, at this point, it's a good bet that we're the only ones listening to ourselves. We have an alphabet soup of organizations. We've got AEI, we've got the Independence Institute, we've got LPR, we've got various conferences, we've got CPAC, we've got WCS, Western Conservative Summit, just happened a couple weekends ago. We got the Heritage, we got Cato, we've got Americans for Prosperity, we've got hotair.com, we've got breitbart.com, we've got townhall.com, and all of this is conservatives talking to ourselves. Because honestly, the people back here, they don't want to listen to us. We've put up a wall. Every time we say, you're a moron, what you like is crap, you're an idiot, you have no taste, every time we do that, we build this wall a little higher. It's not a pretty picture. So, what's the answer? How do we approach this particular problem? The answer to this question is what the New Renaissance is about. And I've got 3 answers for you. And I think every one of them has value. Obviously, the third one is going to be the real money shot. But the first, how do we approach this? Don't talk about it. You don't have to like every movie that comes out. You don't have to like every performance that shows up on the MTV Movie Awards or the MTV Video Awards. You don't have to like this stuff. But if you don't like it, for God's sake, stop talking about it. You're killing us. I'm not kidding here. Remember the old saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Right. This is pushing those people in the middle away. Think about it this way. How many people here were teenagers once? How many people here, when you were teenagers, liked music that your parents thought was awful? And did your parents saying, I think that is awful, affect anything? No! If I like a movie, if there's a movie that I just love, and you tell me, Nathan, that movie is awful, that movie is crap, you have no taste, I can't believe you like that movie. Well, you've persuaded me. You've absolutely persuaded me not to listen to anything else you've got to say. Because I know what I like. And you're not helping anything. So at a bare minimum, if you can't do any steps 2 or 3, please stop talking about it. Let's take an example. Who here has heard of the movie The Butler? How many people here in this room have seen The Butler? Only hand in the room. Okay, what do we know about the movie The Butler? Come on. Oprah's in it. What else? Jane Fonda's in it. What do we know about Jane Fonda? Jane Fonda is the devil. Tom Hayden. She's a communist. She talked about POWs badly. Jane Fonda is the devil. And who is Jane Fonda playing in the movie The Butler? Nancy Reagan. And therefore, what do we know about the movie The Butler?
It's evil.
Sacrilege.
It's a hatchet job on the Reagans, isn't it? What do we know about The Butler? Nothing. There's one truthful item here. Jane Fonda's in it. Jane Fonda is not the devil. She is at best, or at worst, a profoundly misguided individual. She is not the devil. And the movie is absolutely not a hatchet job on the Reagans. And let me quickly tell you why. The Reagans show, the movie The Butler is about a black butler who works in the White House from 1957 to 1986. He starts under Eisenhower. And we see him under Eisenhower, we see him under Kennedy, we see him under Johnson, we see him under Nixon. Ford and Carter show up in archive footage, and then Reagan, we see him under Reagan. Reagan shows up in about 5 or 6 instances in the movie. Here's the first thing we see about Reagan in the movie The Butler. He comes out of the White House to address the butler, whose name is Cecil Gaines. He says, Cecil, I get these letters from people who are enduring financial hardship. I want to help them. I want to send them money. But my staff is kind of getting in my way on this. Can you help me out here? He's talking to the butler to help him send money to people who are in financial trouble. What a jerk. The next thing we see of Reagan, we've seen Cecil throughout the years go up to the head of the White House staff and say, I don't think it's fair that the black staff is being paid less than the white staff. I think they should get paid the same. And the head of the White House staff says, well, if that's how you feel, I guess you're going to have to move on, go someplace else. And every time, Cecil says, well, thank you, sir. We actually only see this once, but we get the idea. This has happened several times. Then under Reagan, Cecil goes and repeats this ritual. And the guy says, of course, well, if that's what you think, Cecil, I'm afraid you're going to have to move on. And Cecil says to the head of the White House staff, I told the president that would be your answer. He says to take it up with him. And the next thing that we hear, everybody on the all the black people on the White House staff have gotten raises because of President Reagan's intervention in this. What a bastard they're making him out to be. Now, we do see Reagan.
Was that portrayed in the movie?
This is the movie. This is portrayed in the movie. Now, we also see Reagan holding up, standing firm on not imposing economic sanctions on the apartheid government of South Africa. But that's historical. Reagan did this. The movie doesn't go into why he did it, i.e. the geopolitical fight against the Soviets. Gosh, a movie made by a black filmmaker with a whole black cast, and I don't know why they portray it that way. It's not a hard stretch. But my point is, they don't portray Reagan as a bad guy. They portray Reagan as a really good guy. But going into the movie, I had seen item after item after item on the blogosphere, the conservative blogosphere online, about Jane Fonda's in it. It's a hatchet job against the Reagans. I'm never going to see this movie. I would never see anything Jane Fonda's in it. Now let's put ourselves in the feet of a middle-of-the-road voter going to see this movie, who has seen all this. Again, we're not quiet about our cultural biases. We're very loud about it. People know how we feel. And this middle-of-the-road voter thinks, I'm going to go see this movie and see what it's all about. And they come out of that movie saying, that movie was not a hatchet job against the Reagans. Those conservatives are nuts. Those conservatives are nuts. We're pushing people away. So you may not want to go see a movie with Jane Fonda in it. Fine. I totally support you in that. Free market, all of that. Stop talking about it. Okay, that's first strategy. Strategy number 2, let's create our own content. This is a very big one on the right. Now, as Brian mentioned, I'm a fellow graduate of LPR, the last class, and just a few weeks ago I went to an LPR recruitment event. I spent a few minutes talking to Michael Williams, the head of the program, about what I'm doing with the New Renaissance. And Mike said, great, do you know people who make movies? Do you know people who make music? Obviously, he's very big on this concept. And I'm not going to talk this down, because creating our own content, if we can get more movies, more TV shows, more music out there with the message that we like, awesome. But it's a really high bar to clear. And let me give you an idea how high. This weekend I spent some time thinking about it and trying to find, I scoured the internet, trying to find conservative movies, movies that have a pronounced conservative message. Here's the list I was able to come up with. This is I confined my search to the last 10 years. Duck Dynasty, the TV show, awesome. The Narnia movies, Soul Surfer, that girl who got her arm bitten off by a shark, very good, solid Christian values. The Dark Knight Returns, those are actually conservative movies, if you've never seen them. The Blind Side, Atlas Shrugged, Parts 1 and 2, not great movies, but they told a story that we like to tell. This is the full list. I mean, there are a few others I could have thrown in here. I could have made this list 6 or 8 or maybe 10 movies longer. For 10 years, that's it. Last year, what's that?
Where's Firefly?
Firefly, that's actually a good one. I should have put that one in there. That still would have been one of the 6 or 8, though.
Put it in Book of Eli.
Book of Eli, maybe.
But the ending.
Sure, I'm sure you could throw out. Again, we're talking about a small handful of movies. We could do this for a while. We can add more on, sure, absolutely. But last year, 2012, Hollywood came out with 660 movies. Do you have 660 more movies to throw at me? No. So, and that was 10 years. That's just 2012. They came out with 660 movies. Drop in the bucket. And it costs a lot to make a good movie. Of the top 20 movies last year, the most expensive cost $250 million to make. The least expensive cost $45 million. The average was $135 million. Making our own movies is a very high bar to clear. It's not really realistic. So while I certainly encourage people to get involved in this if that is your bent, don't pin your hopes on avenue number 2. That's not where we're going to win. But I'll tell you where we are going to win. That's avenue number 3. We find the messages of liberty that are already out there in the culture that is already popular. Now, this one may seem like an insurmountable obstacle. It isn't. This is what the New Renaissance is about. And if you listen to my show and you listen to my podcast, show after show, and once we go live, it's going to be 5 days a week, I'm going to help you find these messages, decode them, so that you can then go into these discussions about movies and say, instead of saying, boy, that's a crappy movie, I'd never go see that, you could say, yeah, that movie had some interesting points. Let me tell you what I found. So find the messages of liberty that are already there. I took this one again from Bill Whittle. I'm a big believer in stealing good ideas. Call it messaging jujitsu. We want to take their attacks and turn them around on them. See, here's the thing. Liberty as a concept is fundamentally about the importance of the individual, the worth of the individual, the dignity of the individual. Every conservative idea flows from this, both the ones that all of us agree on, like government should get the hell out of our lives, and the ones that we may not all agree on, like, sorry, going to jump right in, abortion. Abortion, even if you are pro-choice, you have to acknowledge that the pro-life position is about the dignity of the individual. It's just a question of who we define as a person. I'm not going to get into that. I just want to make the point that conservatism, all of it, all of our ideas flow from this idea of the dignity and the worth, the fundamental value of the individual. That's our core. And this is the beautiful thing. Because progressivism, liberalism, socialism, they are all fundamentally about this. Statism is about people need us to jump in and intervene in their lives because they can't do it on their own. Right? Anybody want to disagree with me here? Cool. And this is the best part, because it is absolutely impossible for the people who are making movies, making TV shows, making music, it is impossible for them to tell a story that is going to be compelling, that is going to grab people's interest, that does not in some way magnify the importance of the individual. It's impossible. Every single movie that's out there that people latch onto, there's something in there for us too. And we can shine our spotlight on that rather than on the negative stuff. We're looking for what is relatable. Stories about the individual are relatable. And people relate on a one-by-one basis. Human beings are not a group package. We come individually pre-wrapped. And Hollywood can make movies that push a message of collectivism. Sure. But I guarantee you, if all they do is push collectivism, they're not going to find an audience because people won't find anything in there to relate. Okay. Enough theory. Let's talk about some specific examples. Miley Cyrus. You knew that one was coming. You had to know. Miley Cyrus. So what do we know about Miley Cyrus? Come on. Twerking. What else? Tasteless. What else? What do we know about Miley Cyrus? Oh, she's on probably. Hannah Montana. Okay, good. Hannah Montana was this character she played on a Disney show. Very wholesome, very family-oriented, this great stuff. But what happened? Well, Miley went bad. How did Miley go bad? Well, she got a punk haircut. Oh, Miley smoked pot. She admitted to being a stoner. We don't like that, do we? Well, not us, but 41% think that's okay. Miley admitted to being a stoner. And worst of all, yeah, twerking. Now, twerking is this kind of lewd dance. Now, I'm going to do everybody in this room a solid. I am not going to demonstrate twerking. Wendy, can you come up for a second?
I might throw something out. Thank you for not calling on me, sweetheart.
You're very welcome. So Miley is known for twerking, and therefore, Miley is not a good role model. These are the things that we know about Miley. Here's the answer I want when I ask this question. What do we know about Miley? We know things that help our side. Did anybody here know that last year, 2012, among the ranks of entertainers, Miley ranked second in charitable donations? Anybody know that one? Yeah, Taylor Swift came in first. Taylor Swift gave more than any other entertainer. Miley came in second. Why aren't we talking about that? That's the kind of stuff that we support, right? Miley is awesome for giving a lot of money to charity. Here's something else you didn't know about Miley. Okay, the twerking. Where did the twerking come from? The twerking came from a music video that Miley did for her song, We Can't Stop. Anybody know the song, We Can't Stop? I want to show you some lyrics for We Can't Stop. It's our party. We can do what we want to. Yeah. It's our house. We can love who we want to. It's our song. We can sing if we want to. It's my mouth. I can say what I want to. Folks, that's a liberty message. That is a liberty message. It's our house. We can look. That's a property rights message. I bet most people don't think of that when they look at it, right? But is there a reason why we can't look at that and say, yeah, damn right, it's my house. I can love who I want to. I can build what I want to. I can do what I want to. There are messages for us everywhere in the popular culture if we choose to look for them, if we choose to decode them, and if we choose to shine a light on those rather than on all the negative stuff. And when we shine a light on the negative stuff, we push everybody else away. When we shine a light on this stuff, we pull everybody in. We become one of us. So that's the thing. Find the messages. Let me give you another example, the butler. What do we know about the butler? That there are positive messages to be found. There are positive pro-liberty messages to be found. The Butler is directed by a guy named Lee Daniels. Came out this year. Now, Lee Daniels, for those of you who don't know, directed a movie called Precious. Did anybody see Precious? Anybody heard of Precious? You should. Precious is about an obese, 16-year-old, illiterate black girl, single mother who is pregnant because her father raped her. Boy, Nathan, that's uplifting. But she's illiterate at the start of the movie. She gets involved in a special education program. Now, I do not know. I actually haven't seen the movie, but I checked out the book. In the book, she is offered welfare, and she refuses. She wants to build herself up on her own efforts. That's a liberty message. That's from Lee Daniels, who directed The Butler. The Butler is about Cecil Gaines, a black man who grew up the son of a poor sharecropper in 1920s Georgia. He was illiterate. He learned how to work as a domestic servant. He worked his way all the way up to being hired as a butler in the White House, plum gig. And even though he was illiterate, he sent 2 of his sons to college. And he did all of this without any welfare, without any assistance from the government, all on the basis of his own work, his own effort, his own sense of family values. Liberty message. They are found in the places you wouldn't think of. They are all through the popular culture. And they have to be. Because if you're going to tell a story that people want to see, they're going to be there. Last example. Elysium. Who here saw the movie Elysium? One hand. 2, actually. I saw it too. Okay. What do we know about Elysium? Okay. Matt Damon. Matt Damon is in it, yeah. It stars Matt Damon. It's set in a science fiction setting in which all of the rich live up on this space station, Elysium. All of the poor live on Earth where the world has been polluted. So it's got this left-wing message about immigration or rich versus poor or free health care or something. And this is actually a thing about Elysium. Okay, let me ask the question again. What do we know about Elysium? It has positive pro-liberty messages, if you know how to find them. So even though it's got an overt, outward, left-wing message, the movie starts off with Matt Damon. He's an ex-con. He's standing at a bus stop, ready to go to work. 2 robot police, not human police, robot police, come up to him, and they ask him what's in his bag. Now, Matt Damon in this movie is clean-shaven on his head. He has no hair. So he makes a joke. He says, oh, hair care products, mostly. And he laughs and says, no, I'm just kidding. Before he can finish that, these robot cops beat him to the ground. They break his arm with a baton, take his bag from him, dump it out, see that there's nothing in there that's bad, and they walk away. And as one of them is leaving, he says, thank you, citizen, and by the way, you have 8 more months added to your probation. The left-wing message is confused, and because it's confused, there's stuff in there we can use. Some positive messages we can point to. Almost everything is illegal. In this story, it's illegal to backtalk to a cop So illegal that they can break your arm, throw 8 months onto your probation, and walk away. I don't know. Does that sound like anything that we fear in the current United States?
Bloomberg.
It's a police state.
Yes.
The main villain in Elysium, played by Jodie Foster, is a government official, the defense minister, who takes it upon herself to shoot out of the sky shuttles carrying illegal immigrants up to Elysium, exceeding her authority. She's supposed to just let them land, round them up, and ship them back. A government official exceeding their authority, and people die. Does that sound like anything that we're worried about in the current setting? Absolutely. There's things that we can point to in this movie. Somebody asked us, so did you see Elysium? We could say, no, I'm not going to see it. Dagnabbit, that's got Matt Damon in it. He's a big old lefty, and it's all a socialist message. Or we can say, yeah, I saw it. And there's some interesting stuff in there. Did you happen to notice that scene where he got his arm broken? And use this to talk about liberty messages. One of the big MacGuffins in the movie has to do with these, what I call magic healthcare beds. Looks like a, help me out here, a machine, MRI machine. Yeah, actually kind of like a tanning bed or an MRI machine. You go into this thing and anything, cancer, caved in head, skull, I'm not kidding, that's actually in the movie, anything can be healed, you're restored good as new, so long as you've still got brain function. So you go in this movie, you're healed, and the ticket to getting in there is you've got a tattoo on your forearm that says, I'm a citizen of Elysium. Not, this is my magic healthcare bed, this is the one that belongs to me. No, it's, I'm a citizen. Theoretically, I could go over to your house and say, hey, Bill, I'm feeling a little bit peaked. I've got this, 24-hour brain tumor. Can I sit in your healthcare bed for a second? And sure, no problem. What's mine is yours. Literally, because there's nothing to stop me. What does this tell us about the world of Elysium? Well, apart from the fact that it's confused and unrealistic.
And it's got Matt Damon.
And it's got Matt Damon. In this world, healthcare is so cheap. There's no materials costs. There's virtually no energy costs, or energy has become so cheap and plentiful. Why wouldn't you let me use your magic healthcare bed? And at the end of the movie, reprogramming the central computer convinces Elysium that everybody on Earth is a citizen. The robots take it upon themselves to ship a whole bunch of magic healthcare beds down to Earth so they can cure the illnesses of everybody there. It's ridiculous, I grant you. But let's think about it. If healthcare is really that cheap, if it's cost-free, where's the entrepreneur looking at this and saying, I could make $1 million selling one thing for $1 million to one person? Or we're all free market capitalists in here. I can sell 1 million somethings to 1 million people for $1 a piece. Take the magic healthcare beds, they're cost-free. Go down there, charge $5 a person. They may be poor, I'm pretty sure they've got $5. And now, not only does he have $1 million, he's got $5 million, or $10 million, or $100 million, because he can cure everybody relatively cost-free. Where's the entrepreneur who did that? There's only one answer to this. The government of Elysium wouldn't let him do it. They want to maintain this artificial distinction. And that gets into the way that government intrudes in our lives and prevents us from making lives better. And I'm just going off the cuff here, but do you see the point? There's always a message of liberty. Everywhere. Everywhere. And especially in the stuff that's popular. Let me offer something. Just in wrapping this up, I went on to the TV this weekend, Saturday. I spent a bunch of time transcribing all of the movies that were on basic cable. There were 135 of them. Out of those, I'd seen 50. 135 movies. Now think about it. Hollywood came out with 660 movies last year. Not all of those are going to go on basic cable. TNT, USA, FX, WGN, etc. They're going to pick the ones that people like. The ones that resonate. Go on there and watch the movies. Find these messages. I picked out 5. Escape from New York. Kurt Russell, 1980. A convict gets stuck in a New York that's been turned into a big prison camp, basically. Anti-government message. 8 Men Out. The Chicago Black Sox, 1919, wasn't it? Individual responsibility, individual virtue, standing up and really fighting for what you want. Yes Man. Jim Carrey. If you say yes to life, if you make choices, you can make your life better. The power of the individual to reshape their own life. Always. Richard Dreyfuss, Holly Hunter. A guy dies, but his ghost lives on to inspire somebody else in what they're doing. The power of the individual is so profound that it can live on past death. That's every ghost story ever told. Shawshank Redemption. Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, an individual can be so strong-willed as to make a life for themselves, even in the hell that is prison. These messages are everywhere. And it's up to us to find them. Rather than always shining a light on the negative, let's find the positive, and let's point our lights at that. Because if we do that, we can start to pull the culture back. And that is what the new Renaissance is about. Thank you. Now, thank you. At this point, some of you might be wondering, how can I help the new Renaissance? I really hope you're asking yourselves that. First thing, listen to the show. The podcasts are up. I'm going to tell you how to find them, but just listen to the show. Even better, find friends that you think would find this stuff interesting, fun, worthwhile. Get them to listen to the show. The more of an audience I get, the more of this I can do, the more powerful my message becomes, and the more powerful all of our message becomes. Now, that's the basic stuff. Even better, if you have a group that you think this message would be, that they would be interested in hearing this message, invite me to come speak. Put me in touch. Get me in contact. I'm happy to give this presentation as many times as I can find audiences for this presentation. Finally, my show and LibertyCast in general, we need sponsors. We need advertisers. If you have a business and you want to advertise, if you think this is a message that is worthwhile, if you want to put your money where your mouth is, put your money where your ideas are, and help this message grow, talk to me, talk to Keith, help us, sponsor us, give us that boost. Where can you find this? Well, you can find me online via email at kiltedscotsman5.com. Yes, I actually do wear a kilt now and then. And some of you have seen this. And on the web. Well, thank you. On
Twerk in the kilt?
God, I haven't seen that yet.
We have a website. We have a website for LibertyCast. It is www.libertycast.net. That's pretty simple. Also, I have a page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Big Messy Bites. And I'll come back to why it's called that, but on my Facebook page, not only do I post links to the show, I also post fun links, video clips, graphics. I have a friend who supplies me with the Geek Thought of the Week. I'm very big on geek culture, science fiction, superheroes, fantasy, all of that stuff. You can find the podcast directly on soundcloud.com/LibertyCast, and there you can also find the podcasts for Brushfire Radio, for A Liberty Affair, and for the Williams Report. You can help out all of us. And finally, coming soon, there will be www.bigmessybites.com, and when I get that up, I'll have an email address at that particular domain. So why bigmessybites.com? Glad you asked. As you may have noticed, I dig this. I love movies, I love music, I love television. There's some great television shows. Anybody ever seen the series Rome from HBO? Awesome show. You mentioned Firefly. We've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming out this fall.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, The Big Bang Theory. There's lots of great stuff. I love this stuff. And just in general, I like food, I like wine, I like music. I like to live my life, not in polite little nibbles at the corners. No, I live my life by taking big, messy bites. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?